All right, guys, welcome to Exponent Rules Day 3. Today we're going to review what you learned about zero and negative exponents. So let's take a look at these guys here. I know you did a bunch of these in class, but if you type in, let's just do the first one, 5 raised to the 0 power, you get 1. Okay, 35 raised to the 0 power, you also get 1. Now let's type this one in. Before you say it's 1, let's be careful here. It's 3, parenthesis, 6 to the 0 power. It's actually 3. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And then this one we can't type in, but anything to the 0 power we know now is 1. Okay, now why is this one 3? So hopefully you realize that if the 3 is not in the parentheses, it does not become a 1. So this one part becomes a 1, but there's still that 3 outside, which you would then multiply, and 3 times 1 makes 3. So be careful. If it's in the parenthesis, it goes away as 1, but if it's on the outside, you do need it in the final answer. Okay, so I'm not even going to do a pattern on this one. I'm just going to go straight to the rule that anything to the 0 power is 1. All right? Anything to the 0 power equals 1. Okay, pretty easy rule to remember. Okay, now negative exponents, these are a little harder. So let's do one together. 2 to the negative 1 power. 2 raised to the negative 1 power ends up being 0.5. But instead of writing 0.5, I'm going to have you turn it into a fraction by hitting math and then hitting enter on frac 2 times. Once, twice. Okay, so 2 to the negative 1 ends up just being 1/2. And since you did this in class, I'm going to just do these because I know them. This one ends up being 1/4, this one ends up being 4, and this one ends up being 1 over x to the 3rd. Okay, so what's the pattern? What do you guys notice? I would say I notice that, like, if it was a 2 and you raise it to a negative power, it just like turns it into a fraction. Okay, so like if you have a whole number, the negative exponent turns it into a fraction. That would be something that I noticed. I don't know about you guys. And if it's already a fraction, then the negative exponent turns it into a whole number. Okay, but I don't know what you guys came up with. But here is the official rule. Okay, if you want a rule. And it goes to the tune of Snoop Dogg's Drop It Like It's Hot. If your exponent's negative, drop it like it's hot. If it's negative on the bottom, then you bring it to the top. Okay, let's sing it. If your exponent's negative, drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot. If it's negative on the bottom, then you bring it to the top, bring it to the top, bring it to the top. So wait, actually, you have to say this like 3 times for the song. Do you guys know that song? It's going to be awkward if you don't. Okay, so if your exponent's negative, drop it like it's hot. If it's negative on the bottom, then you bring it to the top. Now, when you move it, it becomes positive. Okay, so let's write that down too. So you do this, and then let's say after it moves, the exponent becomes positive. Okay, let's do some examples to make sure that that made sense. So flip the page over, and here we go. So number 1, anything to the 0 power, it's all in a parenthesis, therefore the answer is just 1. Okay, number 2, anything to the 0 power in parentheses makes the whole parenthesis thing 1. Okay, so that part's 1, but don't forget there's a 4, so then it's like 4 times 1, and that's just 4. All right, let's look at our negative exponents now. Okay, so number 3. Now, something to be aware of, guys, you can only move bases and exponents. They're a pair, and the 3 is actually totally separate. So think of those as 2 separate things. Now, the 3 is good. But if your exponent's negative, drop it like it's hot. So now we need to draw a fraction bar, and this guy drops to the denominator. And when you drop him, the exponent becomes positive. Okay, that's the answer. So the 3's all good. But if your exponent's negative, drop it like it's hot, and the base and the exponent have to travel together, and once they get dropped, it becomes positive. That's all you can do. All right, now number 4. Let's see. Let's circle all of our parts. The 7 is totally alone. The x squared is alone. And the y negative 3 is alone. Okay, so we have 3 distinct parts here. The 7 is all good, right? I would say the x squared is all good. The one that's got to move is the one that's negative. Now, if it's negative on the bottom, then you bring it to the top, right? So actually, the y3 is going to join the guys in the numerator, and when you move it, it becomes positive. So that is your answer. All right, so just things to keep in mind about the negative ones. Only move the base and the power. When you move them, they become positive. If it's negative, you drop it. If it's negative on the bottom, you bring it to the top. All right, nice job, guys. That was zeros and negatives.